This video contains strong language, used in a funny context. Viewer discretion advised. Number 34. Zelda, the Wand of Gamelon.
Alright, so people have been telling me I've been yelling a little too much. So here's the plan. Once we've talked about how shit this game is, do us a favor and don't even remember this game. Ever. The gameplay is almost as deep and engaging as flipping options on a DVD menu. The game's cutscenes and graphics are horrendous. They look like they were drawn in Microsoft Paint! And the animations are just bad. The graphics in-game are alright, but gameplay-wise, it's boring and frustrating. Your character walks too slow, and every single ruby, yes, they're called ruby and not rupee, will slow you down. So in the end, it's more of a chore to collect things.
Number 33. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for the NES is just like the characters it's named after, except for they're both evil. The gameplay mechanic in this 2D side-scroller is that Dr. Jekyll walks to the right, whereas Mr. Hyde walks to the left. With minimal dangers for Dr. Jekyll that are rare inconvenience at most, and dying as the aggressive Mr. Hyde for absolutely no reason, this is something more than walking down your local street with an insane headache.
Number 32. Universal Studios, Theme Park Adventure.
If your parents can't afford to take you to Universal Studios in Florida, you're going to play this game, and you're going to like it. Nope, you're not going to go on the rides. Oh no. You're going to be performing menial labor by picking up trash, throwing barrels at sharks, and doing what Woody Woodpecker tells you to do for stamps. An absolute disgrace of a game. Horrible.
Number 31. Space Ace.
While Space Ace already didn't exactly work in the arcades, the mere idea of porting the game on a 16-bit console like the Super Nintendo already was a terrible one from the start. This dreadful and horrendous gaming experience is quite possibly the game with the worst control scheme ever, making Space Ace nearly unplayable. The main problem with this game is the unresponsive controls. Once an enemy appeared on screen, you had to push a button in order to draw the gun and kill the approaching enemy. Sounds easy in theory, but first of all, game handles the reception of your commands in an extremely sluggish and downright awful way, making the entire procedure a matter of luck instead of skill. So, just don't buy this piece of fucking shit.
Number 30. American Gladiators.
Unfortunately, the game's events and opponents are mostly broken and more unforgiving than Gears of War 2's bots on Insane. The graphics are poor, with horrible and shitty sound and music and terrible controls. One example is like when climbing the wall, the players had to mash A and B repeatedly to climb the obstacle's wall, with a gladiator attempting to pull them off. Frustrating doesn't cut it. Somehow, the developers managed to scrape together a shitstorm of crap ideas and minigames in the TV show and shit this out and handed it to us.
Number 29. Custer's Revenge.
Not a lot can be said about Custer's Revenge, the first video game to feature nudity and sexual acts in it. Wow. Released for the Atari 2600, the player controls General Custer as he has to make his way across the screen bearing a huge erection, avoiding arrows in order to get a tied-up Native American woman and rape her. Huh. As you can expect, the game came under opposition from women's rights groups, had an 11 million lawsuit filed against it, and has therefore been labeled as one of the worst video games ever made.
Number 28. Robo Demons.
This game had so many problems. Recycled character sprites, clashy colors, flickering graphics, distorted sound, and repetitive and frustrating gameplay. Robo Demons isn't extremely bad, but the size of each level only spans about 5 screens in length, with 2 different levels of platforms you have to traverse, effectively doubling the length. Robo Demons is the kind of game that you might want to play out of curiosity if it were given to you for free, or a friend gave it to you knowing it was shit. So do yourself a favor and put it with the rest of the worst games to collect dust.
Number 27. Heroes of the Lens.
Supposedly, your mission in this game is to retrieve the disc of Miska Hall or something like that, but apart from the story, you're basically looking at a horrible mess of gameplay bugs and technical glitches. Bad color palette of graphics and shit around design. The music consists of a 30-second loop of a song that drones on and on again. In any case, with any normal gamer, you'll play, figure it's crap, and never play it again.
Number 26. Transformers.
After the epileptic flashing screen, players took a role of a completely planned robot who had to shoot enemies and avoid projectiles that you couldn't even see with the human eye. The graphics were terrible and the sound lagged with a terrible frame rate. You also had to collect letters that spelled out Rodimus and then beat the game to play as Rodimus Prime. Oh, if you beat the game with them, then you got congratulations and your high score. It's yet another horrible video game that truly deserves to be removed off the face of this fucking planet.
Number 25. Club Drive.
Most of the missions in this game have you driving an RC car around a badly rendered living room to collect glowing balls of string. Sounds like a good idea on paper, but when you realize you can actually drive directly through the chair legs and walls! And so it sort of loses its charm. Running into objects shows off the game's ridiculous physics. It's hard to say whether it's a glimpse into the future of driving or just someone being an idiot.
Number 24. Extreme Bull Rider.
The bull riding half of Extreme Bull Rider is pretty simple, if a bit stupid. You basically wiggle your mouse until you fall off the bull, or for a full 8-second ride, whichever comes first. Even though you have an entire arena area to ride in, the bull only stays within a few feet of the opening gate. The bull riding segment isn't anything to look at either. The best way to fight the bull is to pick up violins and colourful balls, while avoiding cow pies and a terribly animated bull. Extreme Bull Rider has very little, if any, redeeming qualities, and is simply not worth wasting your time or any words on it at all.
Number 23. Karate.
Karate for the Atari 2600 was a nearly unplayable fighting game with extremely unresponsive controls and almost no chance to win. There's only so much you can do with a digital joystick and one button. Some even considered it the worst Atari 2600 game ever, as it led to broken joysticks because the product wasn't made properly.
Number 22. Captain Planet.
This game is absolutely no fun. Video games are supposed to be fun, and in a good way to pass the time. But this game is so stupid and annoying that's not even worth the time to play it. The controls suck, and without an instruction manual, you got no idea what the hell you're doing. Some of the abilities seem to have absolutely no use either, and are just there because they were in the show, and the sound in the game is downright horrible. All we're treated to is the standard beeps and boops and the occasional hum. Captain Planet is just what you would expect from a game based on a children's cartoon about pollution. It does nothing more than pollute our planet with horrible video games that shouldn't even exist.
Number 21. Barbie.
Barbie, are you fucking kidding me? Dude, no. Tats, you can read this.
Well, this is probably one of the worst games ever created. One of the main purposes of this game existing is, we can only assume to tell your kids never take drugs, or else you may find yourself in the worlds like this game. The controls are clunky, the graphics are terrible, and the music is excruciating. The game doesn't even offer a decent story, it's just a weird messed up dreams that Barbie decided to have after eating too much cheese one night. This game isn't even worth a rental, just avoid it.
Number 20. Extreme Paintbrawl.
The game employed outdated build engine graphics and had a non-existent AI with computer-controlled teammates who mindlessly ran straight forward at the beginning of the match only to be stopped by an object in their path. And enemies would also have seemingly perfect aim, with nearly every shot fired in the player's direction scoring a hit. Although the game only installed and launched under Windows 95 and higher, the actual game was a DOS program, often causing compatibility problems, especially with newer computers.
Number 19. Where's Waldo?
Just as in the popular Waldo book series, the player must locate Waldo in various crowded scenes. The difficult part about this is that in the game, it's not much the placement of Waldo, but the fact that pretty much everyone looks like Waldo. To sum it up, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Because of the pixel mouse and time limit, it's more of a chore than it needs to be. One level has you trying to find Waldo in a cave, which is a black screen which highlights where Waldo is briefly, meaning that you basically just gotta guess where Waldo might be? Where's Waldo, you may ask? The answer? No one really gives a shit.
Number 18. Pac-Man.
No, we're not talking of the original arcade version here. No, this is the worst version for the Atari. It's still the same gameplay as the original, but it just doesn't work. The producer was given a limited time frame by Atari to complete the project, and the game just doesn't play well at all. The gameplay and audio-visual are completely different from the arcade version, and gamers return the game in large quantities, not surprising.
Number 17. Night Trap.
The notorious subject of congressional hearings was pulled from certain store shelves after senators whipped into a frenzy by a scene featuring a girl in a nightgown being attacked. Despite the lack of graphic violence and nudity, the game about girls at a sleepover being attacked by vampires will probably never see a sequel. And for good reason. The gameplay sucked. The idea sounded stupid as fuck. If you've just gotta see how bad the acting, writing, and traps are, then just see some of these clips.
You monster. Let's have the boys change the code to be safe to yellow.
Don't worry, Mom. It's all in the fingers. Good hunting.
I'm pulling the plug on you before you do any more damage. Breaking contact.
Number 16. Shaq Fu.
Shaq Fu for the Sega Genesis is probably the worst conceived game ever to come out of any platform system ever. You play as Shaq somehow in Tokyo, where you are discovered by some Zen karate master who says that you have to come from a distant planet to save the world. After you endure the blatantly uninspired storyline, you have to endure the worst two-player fighting game of all time. The controlling in this game is incomprehensible. The best thing you can do is just hammer the buttons of your controller with your hands and watch the screen. With a name like Shaq Fu, you had to know this game was going to be bad, but you were not sure for how bad it was going to be until you actually played it yourself.
Number 15. Superman 64.
With some of the worst controls ever for a video game, you press a button to do something and it either doesn't respond or it does something completely different. Superman 64 is just bad, very bad in fact. With purple sky and the city of Metropolis looking like a complete flat wasteland with no one around, the animation is slow and the character you control bears no resemblance to Superman whatsoever. It's notorious for negative reception and is considered one of the worst games of all time. This game was largely criticized for being repetitive, difficult, and confusing. This game was one of the most atrocious creations in gaming history. Seriously, avoid this piece of shit.
Number 14. Color a Dinosaur.
Color a Dinosaur is an example of a game unlikely to have much appeal for anyone above the ages of 3 to 6 years old. All it has is 16 static pictures of dinosaurs, which can be colored with up to 3 colors. Holy shit! There's not even a save feature. This game is a waste of time and money.
Number 13. Conan.
This game doesn't share anything in common with other Conan titles. In this game, all Conan does is jump around and kill the same 2 or 3 bad guys over and over again. The point of this game seems to be escaping whatever level you're placed in. This game can be summed up in 2 words. Utterly soulless. The graphics are pathetic, the sound is dull, and the gameplay is completely repetitive. Just avoid it. Really, please, just avoid it.
Number 12. Back to the Future.
Plot of the game doesn't really follow the movie that well, and in fact, calling this game Back to the Future is an insult to the movie itself. From the looks of it, LJN made a random-ass game and slapped Back to the Future on it. The graphics are terribly bad, as the main character Marty doesn't even have the slightest resemblance to him at all. Most of the time, it's extremely difficult to see where you're supposed to go, and in the end, you treat everything you see as a hazard. And for some reason, the developers didn't make anything that you do in the game follow the movie. In the first level, the screen scrolls on its own and you have to collect clocks so that your family doesn't disappear. The annoying part is the timer. It goes super fast and barely gives you enough time to beat it. And once you beat it, you get a frustratingly difficult root beer tapper style minigame that gets even more difficult when you play. Failure to beat the level results in a trip back to the previous level. What do you fucking do?
Number 11. Dragster.
Dragster is a blocky, garish, and can be beaten in mere seconds. Dragster is one of those shortest games ever created by Activision and isn't worth the asking price. Your goal in Dragster is to get your car across the finish line before your opponent. Using a joystick, you must rev, clutch, and shift your way to victory, but if you rev too much, your engine will blow up, and you'll be out of the race.
Number 10. E.T.
No matter how you rate it, E.T. was a misforgotten product that deserved to be buried. The point of the game is to find pieces of your ship in order to get home, but the pieces are found in what only can be described as pits that E.T. falls into periodically. It's been rumoured that there are 5 levels of almost identical gameplay. This game single-handedly destroyed Atari and its legacy. They produced so many cartridges of this game that they were never sold, and they actually had to buy land in New Mexico and create an E.T. landfill in the desert. The game is commonly recited as one of the main causes of the video game crash of 1983.
Number 9. Cheetahmen II.
This game was programmed into cartridges while still unfinished and contains the same clunky movements and sounds from Action 52. The inability to crouch or shoot while jumping, and a game-breaking glitch which makes level 4 unbeatable and makes it to the list for the sole reason. Oh, and if you use a Game Genie or hacked ROM to skip the last 2 levels, there's no ending programmed.
Number 8. Bubsy 3D.
A game infamously known for being the worst 3D platformer of 1996. A game that was so bad, it just slaughtered the entire Bubsy franchise. Almost everything in Bubsy 3D is rendered in flat, shaded polygons, with a few uninspired textures peppered in between. The controls feel both stiff and slippery all at the same time. Walking is cumbersome, and the slippery and slow turning doesn't help matters. You move like a frickin' tank. There's no reason Bubsy 3D should have been this bad. Even for a game developed in 1996, it comes off looking like a computer science student's midterm project that sucks. Hopelessly bland and utterly pointless, Bubsy 3D is, in a word, a mess.
Number 7. Action 52.
An unlicensed game with 52 games in one cartridge, created by Active Enterprises for the NES, and later the Sega Genesis. Action 52 is one of the worst games ever made. Poorly programmed, all 52 games are loaded with bugs and glitches, and as a result are impossible to beat. Some games won't even load, and the graphics, sounds, and music suck. Almost all the quality of the titles in this cartridge are poor. Virtually almost all of them play like a first-year programming student's first project with poorly drawn graphics, terrible sounds that never deserve to be called music, horrendous play control, and some of the worst bugs ever burnt onto a ROM chip.
Number 6. Desert Bus.
The objective of the game is to drive a bus from Tucson, Arizona to Las Vegas in real time, at a maximum speed of 45 miles per hour, along a road which is perfectly straight, a feat which requires 8 hours of continuous play to complete. There are no passengers, no pause button, no traffic, and little scenery. The problem is that the bus veers very slightly to the right, meaning that it cannot be left to drive by itself, and if you leave the road, you'll be towed back to Tucson. In real time.
Number 5. Big Rigs Over the World Racing.
The first idea of this game ever being a racing game is sketchy at best. When the contest begins, your opponents don't really put much effort into being there at all. That's because the creators forgot to give them any line of functions, and they drive straight through the entire race, or sometimes they aren't even programmed to race at all. There's nothing to avoid during the race. Don't get me wrong, there are buildings and bridges and other obstacles, but unlike in other racing games, in big rigs you can drive straight through them without even slowing down. The programmers have not even programmed collision detection into the game, or any of the obstacles. No matter what happens in each race, whether you're winning or losing, the words "You're winner" in horrifying English sticks up on the screen. The list of negatives go on forever. Furthermore, you can literally drive off the level by heading into the mountains. Knowing how bad this game actually was, I'm sure there's many of you out there that's never heard of this game before, and are now frantically searching the internet just trying to find out this game for themselves.
Number 4. Crazy Bus.
Okay, what the hell was up with that music just now? Well, yep, that was the game's title music. Also, the game itself is a simulator, and truly one of the worst simulators out there. You drive a bus to the right and honk your horn. That's it. No kidding. The graphics look like they were drawn in a Microsoft Paint or something. I still use that. And the photos of some of the buses are heavily pixelated. It seems the music only exists at the title screen and nowhere else. However, rumors are flying around that a sequel was released called Crazy Bus 2, which is even worse.